Welcome, Gavin Dale. How are you feeling today? How are you feeling after last weekend?
Really good. Yeah.
Really good.
Happy to be on. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful, thank you. So first of all, can you tell me a bit about your background, your running history? I know you did the Bob Graham round at one point, but just kind of
Yes.
where were you
Yeah.
coming from before you did the Arc?
I guess I've been running for about the last kind of 5 years now. Started off as a road runner, sort of half marathon distance, for a couple of years, and then got a bit bored of that basically. And I did a road marathon, which then sort of got me interested in longer distance, and starting to kind of lean towards that. And I think it changed for me a lot when I moved, at the start of 2020. I moved over to New Zealand, for a couple of years, sort of on a working holiday, and it's just the best place to explore the trails and things. So that really changed sort of what running was to me. I got far more into going out on the trails, going up in the mountains, and with that, then the racing side of it kind of turned to longer distance stuff as well.
Yeah, the New Zealand is a lot hillier than it is over here, isn't it? So yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sure you had lots of
yeah, and there's and the trails as well. There were a lot of opportunities. I was traveling around a lot, both with my job and sort of in my free time. And a lot of the trails and things, you can often be going for, kind of 50, 60 kilometers, to explore them. And, on a weekend, that was just for me, that was kind of the perfect weekend. I'd park up somewhere in my van and just go out on these trails and be out for the day exploring. And it was just the best way of getting to see all these places.
So you're quite used to kind of running on your own then, because with ultra marathons you tend to be quite, long distances of time on your own, which quite a few people are put off by. But do you find it quite
Yeah, I find it really varies, because it's sort of, you often do get those long stretches on your own, and I'm kind of, yeah, I am quite used to doing that. But then part of what drew me to it as well was the fact that often when you are running next to somebody, you're not running at a hard pace. In a half marathon, I used to sometimes try and chat to people in the half marathon, and you got nothing back because everyone's working so hard. Whereas when I was doing a lot of kind of mountain marathons out in New Zealand, which was sort of 6, 7 hour races. And with that, you have got the time to chat to people. So often you find that for kind of 10 miles or more, you could be just running alongside somebody. And I had some really great chats, and you get to know people. And afterwards, you'd see them, when you meet up on the finish line again, you're saying, oh, how did the rest of your race go? And you dropped me here. And I really love that kind of conversational side to it.
yeah, the more kind of social side that we kind of lose when we start, getting up to the quite higher distances probably. And kind of you reach like a threshold and then you kind of surpass it again because you have to slow down with the
Yeah,
ultras, don't you? So yeah, especially when like half marathon training, everyone's like as fast as you can. Afterwards, you can
it
kind
is
of
just,
just
yeah,
let's get to the
I
finish
just
line.
pretty much. And you know what? I've reached a point where I would much rather go out for 10, 12 hours in a race and kind of enjoy it, a bit more and have my time. The idea of doing a fast half marathon now is exhausting to me, because it's
Yeah.
just like that. It's a much shorter time, but the effort you're having to put in for that time is phenomenal.
Yeah. So tell me what drew you to the Arc of Attrition in general. What was that? What was it about that race?
Uh, I think there were a few things that kind of came together for me, to attract me to it. I kind of heard about it in other podcasts, and seen other runners I knew doing it. And I love a point to point race. I love it when you've got that concept of going somewhere and really traveling. So whenever I saw the map of it, I loved that thing of following the coastal path all the way. And I love running on the coast. It's not something I do very often. I'm based up in the lakes now, so I always love going down and doing a coastal path. It's really fun. Um, and then it just kind of fitted really nicely. I've been Since coming back, from New Zealand, I've been doing a lot of shorter kind of fell races, which are really fun. They kind of throw me out my comfort zone. But then I was starting to get this itch of, I want to do something longer again, and kind of looked at the 100-mile distance a few times and thought, there's no rush to get to it. I will do it at some point, but it's not quite the time. And then this time around I looked at it and I thought, I think it is the time. And it works really nicely having it in winter, that, there's not many other races going on at this time. So I was able to just kind of put a really good training block in for it. And yeah, I've loved it.
What sort of training kind of did you do to lead you up to the Arc then? Did you have a specific training for the Arc strategy?
I had kind of a rough idea of what I wanted to achieve with it. And it was basically for me a combination of just trying to get long days in, get out for a few hours at a time, as many double days as I could, back to back long days, anything that just translated into kind of long miles, time on feet. I'm lucky in the lakes, I've got hills everywhere. So hill training wasn't really an issue. The two things I think I did differently in the build up to this race, to what I've done in the past, was trying to do, I kept in a lot of the kind of shorter fell racing at the weekends. So I'd often be out sort of on a Saturday just doing, kind of 4 to 5 mile fell races, which are just great for that kind of sharp end training, I think. And the sort of just getting your tempo work in, getting the heart rate going up, and keeping the confidence on the downhills. And then also I tried to put more sort of strength and conditioning work in this time, because that's been the problem for me in the past, has been kind of then noticing, injuries flaring up and not giving them enough time. So I was really determined this time around to try to get that right, and it does seem to have paid off.
Oh, I think it definitely paid off. Absolutely amazing time that you came in. Kind of what did you think of the route in general? The Arc, as you said, it follows the coastal path, but for those who don't know, kind of what sort of route were you expecting versus what was it actually like?
So I was lucky. I was able to get down there a few days in advance. I got down on the Monday before the race, and it gave me a few days just to go and take a little look at a few of the sections and just get kind of a feel for it. I think it's a really fun route because there's such a good mix on there. You have got some quite technical sections where you've got to be very focused on where your feet are going, and how you're moving. You've got a couple of, just flat road stretches where you're on tarmac. And again, then it's thinking about how you can shift into, a road style of running almost, and cover ground well on that. And then I was surprised towards the end, there was some really sort of out of Gadrivi and then into the final 10 miles, there was some really flat runnable trail, which at that end, again, it's sort of, there's such an awareness that is where you can really kind of make or break your time,
I suppose near the end, you kind of want that flatness, don't you, towards the end?
It is nice, but then you end up at a point where you're almost desperate for a hill just as a chance to stop running. It's anything for an excuse to hike for a minute or two is always great at that point.
Amazing. What kind of strategy did you put in place? Was it just a go, go, go sort of thing, or was it?
No, it was, I knew that Ellis was the one to watch. I knew that he's the favourite, kind of coming into it. So I basically kind of hijacked off him for the kind of first part of the race. I kind of tucked in once we started. I just tucked in behind him, and we kind of slowly made our way through to the front. And then the thing is, we ended up running on and off together for basically 80 miles of the race. And that helped a huge amount for me, because it meant, the whole long stretch through the dark, we did pretty much all together. We did everything, all the kind of hard stuff, through Land's End to St. Ives, we tackled together. And it very much felt like, we kind of worked as a team for that. We worked together against the course almost, we help each other. When we need to kind of change batteries on your head torch, the other would stop and shine a light for you. And at the checkpoints, we both kind of say beforehand, right, I want to go in here, have some food, have a couple of minutes just to take stock before we go on. And there was, I think it was great. Just it made those kind of miles through the middle of the race just fly by because you're not doing them alone.
Yeah, I think with the kind of ultra marathon community, you kind of get a little bit more of a sportsmanship with it. Um, in my
Yeah,
opinion, anyway,
definitely.
I feel like everybody's more chipping in to kind of make sure everybody gets over the finish line. So Ellis is an
Exactly.
absolutely
Yeah.
fantastic runner as well. So
Yeah. And I hadn't met him before, so I was kind of fanboying a bit at the start. And yeah, we kind of had mutual because he's up in the lakes as well. We had like a lot of mutual friends that kind of, and mutual kind of awarenesses. And he was like, "Oh, I think I saw you a few weeks ago on Skidder." I was like, "Oh, yeah, probably I was up there." And so yeah, there's a lot of common ground there, really.
yeah, I think you find all you will definitely want to look out for in the future. You and him, you'll probably be seeing each other a lot on races.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting now. What was your choice of footwear?
I was actually spending the whole week changing my mind daily, and having a panic about it because at one point, we had that heavy rain a couple of weeks beforehand, and all the kind of social media and everything. Everyone was saying, "Oh, the tracks, it's just a mud field the whole way through. You're going to need your grippiest shoes for this." So I ordered a new pair of like Saucony Peregrines, that the kind of deeper lugged version. I had them ready to go. Then the trail dried out, and these peregrines were kind of just rubbing slightly on my foot as well. So I was like, "Oh, they can't be in." And then I was looking at a pair of Innovates I've got, but they are battered to hell. There was kind of nothing left of them almost. And I was like, "I don't know if they'll survive 100 miles." So I ended up in a pair of VJs, the VJ Ultras, which I did my Bob Graham in last year. So I was like, if they can get me around that, they can definitely get me around this as well. And the grip's pretty much gone on them because, again, I've put quite a lot of miles in them. But it just meant I had a couple of moments on the mud where I just had to be a bit careful with my footing. And one time where I did fall over in the mud quite early on, which is a bit embarrassing. But for the most part, they're just quite versatile, and I found that they're comfy over that kind of distance. They hold up well, because you don't, we were really lucky this year that the course was in great condition. You didn't need really deep lugged shoes, I don't think, to do well on this course.
Yeah, the rain, I think, kind of put everybody on edge. I remember watching the rain those couple of weeks beforehand and being like, oh gosh. So,
It's
yeah,
just amazing how quickly it can all go again, though, and I think we had a good week of sun. We had a bit of wind as well, and it just dried everything back out. And then, yeah, the course was just in great condition.
that's amazing. So, what sort of nutrition did you do? Because 100 miles is a long way to go. How did you keep the tank
It
full?
is. I really like to try and do as much of a mix as I can, rather than getting too set on one thing. So early on, I was going on sort of gels and bars and just whatever I could get in, sort of quite quickly to keep moving. Once it kind of got to evening, I had a lot of cups of tea, pretty much every time because I had my crew with me. And they were just, yeah, every time they saw me, they'd have a cup of tea ready to go, which just, I think even just psychologically, that for me is a massive boost. And then, yeah, the checkpoints as well, the official checkpoints in this were fab. They just had so much choice, and so many people kind of ready to help you out. So I had a lot of hot soup and hot chili, pizza, because I think halfway through the night, I was pretty sick of gels. I was pretty fed up with them. And then, yeah, I had sort of some hot pasta and stuff as well that I had made up ready. And I was having that even kind of 10 miles from the end. I was still trying to get just solid food in as well. I did tailwind too. Just a bit of everything, to be honest, whatever I could.
I've noticed over the past couple of weeks, pizza and mashed potatoes and stuff. These are the real kind of runner foods that people are kind of, because Elsie
Yeah,
Davis said on her Bob Graham, she also was eating pizza and all of that to just try and get some solid food
I
inside.
think it really helps if you can take on a variety and some proper real food as well. Just for me, even just again psychologically, it just feels nice to eat some proper food. Like I knew a guy in New Zealand who the only thing he could eat on these kind of ultra races was boiled potatoes with salt. and that was it. He was just adamant that that is all he would ever eat. But for me, I just find that horrendous, because I'd just be dreading the next time I needed to eat a potato.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, a cup of tea, it sorts everything out, even if you're on
Oh, it does.
it sorts
It's just
everything
the
out.
thing of when it's cold and it's dark and somebody appears holding you a cup of tea, it's perfect.
Yeah, I can fully agree with that. After a couple of my races, my dad's handed me a hot coffee and I've gone, oh, this is what I needed.
Yeah.
So how did it feel crossing the finish line then?
It was amazing. It was just really exciting, I think. I'd come into this race, my hope was for a top three. That was kind of what I really wanted to try and achieve from it. But I mean, it all comes down to who's there on the day. I knew that there was a lot of good competition. So, I also wanted to just come and have fun with it. I spent most of the last kind of 10 to 15 miles in a state of constant paranoia, because I was worried. I broke away from Alice just after St. Ives, and I spent the whole time thinking I've gone too soon here. I've made the move too soon, and I'm going to regret it. And the closer and closer I was getting to the finish, you're sort of thinking, there is a chance that I could win this, but I don't want to sort of get carried away with it. And my crew were started giving me kind of false information towards the end. So Ellis, I think there was a point where Ellis was about 10 minutes behind me, and my crew were telling me he was only 4 minutes behind, to keep me pushing and keep me going. But then in my head, I was thinking, oh, well, if they've got that wrong, Ellis could only be 2 minutes behind me. So I was convinced the whole time that any moment I was going to look around and see him coming towards me. And even the very final hill climb, about 400 meters to go, I was still looking over my shoulder, because I just couldn't. I've had races before where I've kind of, you've gone too soon, and then in the last sort of mile or something, you've been overtaken. And so I just I couldn't relax and let myself believe it until the very, very last moment.
It's like a runner's horror movie, isn't it? Just checking over your shoulder to see if they're coming. I'm sure he was trying his hardest to catch up with you.
I'm sure he was.
Yeah. So what's next? Are you going to be doing the Arc again? What's next in the?
I think I'll definitely. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll be back for the Arc. Just because I just had the best time down there, and such a friendly, mud crew were just fab. Like, so welcoming and so generous. So I would love to come back down for that. At the moment, I very much wanted to kind of do this race and see how I felt, before deciding the rest of the year. So my weekend now is basically going to be looking at a calendar and starting to figure out what I want to do and when. I'll be doing some some of the smaller fell races again now for the next few weeks, just to go back to that, which will be a lot of fun. And then, I think I'll try and get a few other big ones in the year, but not sure what yet.
Amazing. So you've spoken a lot about your crew. I'm sure they are kind of pinnacle to your success. So.
Oh, they were fab. Yeah, so I was really lucky. I had my brother-in-law and then my dad as well, came down for it. So yeah, they were just fab. Sort of, it's always hard not to come across too much like a diva when you're telling them, I'm going to need this, and I might just run past you here and ignore you, or here I need this, and but they were just great. They they spent the whole night driving around to all these tiny car parks, often in the middle of nowhere, and they'd always just have everything I needed ready to go, really calm, really kind of reassuring, and happy. It kind of changes up what you need, because early on with the crewing, you just need very quick stops. It's all about sort of efficiency and just being quite, right, I'll see you at the next place, have this ready. And then midway through, it's a lot more about, getting the hot food ready, being able to kind of just boost you on and make sure you're going. And then towards the end, it flicks back to that. I'd just sort of be running at them, throwing rubbish their way and saying, right, how long have I got? What's the time? And then you just shoot past them again. And they just took it all in their stride. kind of looked out at me at the end as well. Once I was sort of it had all set in, I was starting to fall apart a bit.
Amazing. Well, thank you for coming on. Thank you for speaking with me today.
Yeah,